We've talked a lot about creating objects, including how to use constructors to do things in the very beginning of allocation, but what about getting rid of objects? Well, Java handles most of that kind of memory management for us with something called garbage collection. Garbage collection is the idea that rather than allocating and then having to manually deallocate memory, Java will actually keep track of how many times we point to an area of memory, and when that number reaches 0, it will release it for use by other resources in the system. So, if we were to do something like this, my variable would no longer be pointing to this particular part of memory. Instead, it would be pointing to nothing. At the end of this block of code, the garbage collector would actually be able to take this particular block of memory and release it for use to allocate something new. Now remember, when we're pointing one variable to a piece of memory and then another, it's not transitive. If I were to do something like this, well, this piece of memory is now being pointed to by both my variable and my object. This piece of memory here is no longer being pointed to by any object. It would trigger a garbage collection. If I were now to do something like this, and I'll comment this so that Java will properly run, you would see that this particular variable is now pointing to nothing. Well, what about my variable? Was it pointing to my object? No. My variable was actually pointing to this place in memory. So now this object is pointing to nothingness, but my variable is pointing to that same memory that my object was. These things are not transitive. Remember, they're just pointers. So we can point them at anything that we want all day, but it really depends on how many things are referencing a piece of memory before the garbage collector will actually run. So if I were to now do something like this, and actually print out the member variable inside of my variable, even though my object is null, my variable is still pointing to the original my object that was instantiated on line 22. And if we run this, we'll see moose, not other moose. What happened to that other block of memory? Well, it was cleaned up for us by the garbage collector. And that's why Java is such a powerful programming language. You can focus on the code while it focuses on managing memory.